After the class, the teacher said, "You have to be strong with that animal. You're the boss. Show him that." When we got home, Jenny said, "You can take Marley to the class next week." The next Tuesday, Marley and I went back to the class. Jenny stayed at home. In the car, I said to Marley, "I'm the boss. You're not the boss. I'm the boss. Do you understand?" But Marley only looked at me and wagged his tail. Then he tried to chew my hands. In this lesson, the dogs had to walk quietly next to us. It was a very important lesson for Marley. When he went for a walk with Jenny and me, he always pulled us. The teacher gave us chains. "Put the chain over your dog's head," she said. "When he pulls you, pull him back with it. It will hurt him, so he'll stop pulling." I tried to put the chain over Marley's head, but Marley, of course, got very excited. A new game! He grabbed the chain with his teeth. I tried again, but each time, Marley grabbed it. In the end, I got the chain over Marley's head and started to walk with him. When Marley pulled in front of me, I pulled him back with the chain, but then he pulled away again. "Here," said the teacher. "I'll show you." She took Marley's leash and started to walk with him. Marley pulled the chain, and the teacher pulled him back. But then Marley pulled the chain again. This new game was great. Then Marley saw me. He started to run to me, and he pulled the teacher after him. Marley was bigger and stronger than the teacher, so she couldn't stop him. She was very angry. After the class, the teacher said, "Your dog isn't ready for this class. He's too young. You can bring him back in 6 or 8 months." "Are you telling us that we have to leave the class?" I said. "That's right," she said. "You have to leave." Because Marley couldn't go back to the class, I started to teach him at home. But it was difficult. Marley wasn't a fast learner. We had another problem with Marley. In Florida, there were often thunderstorms. Marley was afraid of loud noises. He went crazy in a storm. He broke things and made everything dirty. After each storm, Marley quickly forgot about it. He was happy again and wanted to play. But in the next storm, the same thing happened. He was afraid, so he went crazy again. We talked to Dr. J about the problem. Dr. J was young and he understood dogs very well. "What can we do?" we asked. "When Marley gets crazy, he breaks things. One day, he'll get hurt in a storm." "Marley is 7 months old," said Dr. J. "I'll neuter him. Then he won't get so excited. He'll be a quieter, happier dog." I thought about that. "Oh," I said, "I don't really know." "Yes," said Jenny. "That's a great idea." "Bring Marley here on your way to work," said Dr. J. "It doesn't take long. He'll be ready by the afternoon. You can get him again on your way home." A week later, we took Marley to Dr. J. Marley ran from the house and jumped into the car. He was very happy. He loved to go out with Jenny and me, his 2 best friends. Jenny drove and I sat next to her with Marley. He pushed at the window with his nose. He wanted to sniff outside the car. I opened the window and Marley put his nose outside. "I feel sorry for Marley," I said to Jenny. Then I looked at him. His front paws were out of the window. "John," said Jenny. "What's Marley doing? Please be careful." "He's fine," I said. "He only wants to put his head outside." Marley put his head out of the window. Then, suddenly, he pushed his front legs out, too. He tried to jump down on the road, but the road was very busy with cars. "John!" shouted Jenny. "Hold him!" Jenny tried to stop the car, but she couldn't. The other cars drove around us very fast. It was very dangerous. Now, Marley's front paws were down on the road. He ran next to the car. I grabbed him by his tail, and Jenny stopped the car. "Now what?" I shouted. I couldn't pull Marley back into the car. I couldn't open the door. I couldn't get my other arm out. And there were cars all around us. The other drivers looked at us angrily. Jenny opened her door and got out of the car. She ran around it and grabbed Marley. I opened my door and got out too. In the end, we got Marley back into the car. When we got to Dr. J's, I took Marley inside. He sniffed everywhere. Then he pushed over a table with magazines on it. I gave Marley's leash to Dr. J. "Please neuter him as quickly as possible," I said. "Please." That evening, when I took Marley home, I saw a change in him. He wasn't excited and crazy. He moved quietly and slowly. Good, I thought. Chapter 4. Changes at Home. Jenny and I worked hard at our jobs. We also worked hard at home. So one evening I said, "Let's go on vacation, Jenny." The next day, I bought 2 airplane tickets. They were for a 3-week vacation in Ireland. "What are we going to do about Marley?" asked Jenny. "We can leave him in the house," I said. "Somebody can stay here with him." "Marley is a difficult dog," said Jenny. "That person will have to be kind but also strong. He or she will have to be his boss." "I know," I said. Then I had an idea. Kathy loves animals. Kathy worked in my office. The next day, I asked her, and she said yes. Before she arrived, I wrote some notes for her about Marley. There were 6 pages of notes. I showed them to Jenny. "Did I forget anything?" I asked. Jenny read the notes. Then she said, "You can't tell Kathy all that. She won't want to stay with Marley." But when Kathy read the notes, she smiled. "Marley and I will be fine," she said. "Have a great vacation." Jenny and I had a wonderful vacation in Ireland. The weather was fine and warm. We drove on small country roads and walked by the ocean. At night, we stayed in the houses of Irish families. We forgot about our jobs in Florida. When we arrived home, Marley ran outside to us. Kathy stood at the door. She looked very tired. Her bag was next to her. "I'm sorry," she said, "but Marley broke a lot of things in the house. He wasn't obedient, and he didn't listen to me." We thanked Kathy, but she wanted to leave very quickly. I turned to Marley. "All right, Marley," I said. "Tomorrow, you're going to learn about obedience." The next morning, Jenny and I went back to work. But first, I put the chain around Marley's neck and took him for a walk. Marley started to pull me. "Sit, Marley," I said. Marley sat. "Okay, let's try that again," I said. We started to walk, and Marley pulled me again. I made the chain very short and pulled him back. It hurt him. but it was the only way. In the end, he learned his lesson. He walked next to me and didn't pull me. I felt very happy. "Good, Marley," I said. "I'm the boss." Some days later, Jenny called me at the office. "John," she said, "I went to see the doctor. I'm going to have a baby." This time, Jenny and I were very careful, and we put away every chemical in the house. Jenny looked well. She got up early each morning and took Marley for a walk by the ocean. When we went to the doctor, we saw our baby on the machine. But I didn't forget about Marley. I worked with him every day. Marley was more obedient now, but he didn't listen to me all the time. He came when I called him. Sometimes. In our yard, we had a fruit tree. Marley loved eating fruit, but it went through him quickly. His poop was everywhere in the yard. He ate a lot of other things too. These went through him and came out in his poop. Toys, pens, and bottle tops. I bought Jenny a beautiful chain for her birthday. She loved it and she put it around her neck. But some hours later she cried, "My chain! Where is it? Maybe I didn't put it on right." "We didn't go outside," I said. "So it's here in the house." We looked in every room, but we couldn't find the chain. Suddenly Jenny said, "What's that in Marley's mouth?" I saw the end of a thin chain. "Oh no!" I cried. "Okay, Marley, it's all right. Come here now. Please give us the chain." But Marley only looked at us. Suddenly, he threw his head back. "He's eating the chain!" cried Jenny. I opened his mouth and pushed my hand down, but I couldn't find the chain. "We'll have to wait," I said. "The chain will go through Marley and come out in his poop." I gave Marley lots of fruit. We waited for 3 days. I followed Marley everywhere. When he pooped, I looked for the chain, but it wasn't there. On the 4th day, I found it. After I washed it, it was very clean. It had a beautiful shine. "That's wonderful," Jenny said. "It shines better than before." Jenny wore that chain for years. When I saw it, I always thought of Marley. Our son was born in St. Mary's Hospital in Palm Beach. We called him Patrick, an Irish name. "Things are going to change at home for Marley now," said Jenny. "Maybe he won't like the changes." I brought Jenny and Patrick home from the hospital. Patrick was asleep, and we put him on our bed. Then we went to the garage and brought Marley into the house. He followed Jenny into the bedroom, but he didn't see Patrick on the bed. Then Patrick made a small noise, and Marley's ears went up. Where did that noise come from? Patrick made another noise. Marley held up a paw, and Jenny and I watched him. What's Marley going to do? I thought. Marley jumped up onto the bed. I pulled him back quickly and held him. Patrick's eyes were very wide, but Marley didn't want to hurt Patrick. He sniffed all around him. Now Marley had a new best friend. When he was near Patrick, he wasn't wild and crazy. At night, he slept under Patrick's bed. 6 months later, Patrick started to move around. Marley lay on the floor, and Patrick climbed over him. Sometimes Patrick pulled Marley's fur, but Marley lay quietly and didn't move. We were parents now, and we were happy. We had our wonderful baby. We had our dog. We had our house by the ocean. Life was good. Then, when Patrick was 9 months old, Jenny said, "I'm going to have another baby." Chapter 5. Difficult Days. Sometimes bad things happened in our street. One night in October, Jenny and I were in bed. Marley lay on the floor next to me. Suddenly, I heard a cry, the cry of a girl. It came from the street outside. I felt afraid, but I jumped out of bed. "Come with me, Marley," I said. "Please, John, don't go out there," said Jenny. "Call the police," I said. "I'll be careful." I held Marley by the end of his chain. The girl cried again. We went outside, and a man ran away down the street. 2 young men ran to me. "Go and stay with the girl," they shouted. "Help her. We're going after the man." I ran to the girl. She was my neighbor's daughter, Lisa. She was 17 years old. Her shirt was red and wet. "What happened?" I asked. "I was in my car," she said. "A man got in and put his hand over my mouth. He said, 'Don't make a noise.' But I did, and he cut me with his knife." I held Lisa in my arms. "It's going to be all right," I said. But I didn't really think that. Lisa's face was gray, and she was very weak. I looked at Marley. He stood and looked down the street. He looked strong and ready for a fight. Nobody could get past him. Some minutes later, the police arrived with doctors, and they took Lisa away. A policeman asked me questions. Then I went home with Marley. Jenny met us at the door. "Marley was a different dog tonight," I said. "Nothing can hurt us when he's with us." I looked at Marley. "You did well tonight," I said. Lisa didn't die. She got well again. But I never forgot that night. One night, when Jenny and I were in bed, she said, "John, I think the baby is coming. Please call the doctor." Something's wrong, I thought. It's too early for the baby. I took Jenny to the hospital. "Your baby is too small," the doctor said to her. "We have to stop him coming out. You'll have to stay in the hospital." Jenny was in the hospital for 12 days. I stayed at home with Patrick and Marley. I did the housework. I cooked and washed clothes. In the evenings, I was very tired. Marley sat and looked at me sadly. I could read his thoughts. "I don't understand. Why doesn't John want to play with me? Why doesn't he take me for walks? And where's Jenny?" I didn't do things at home very well. I left the bathroom door open all the time. Marley loved to go into the bathroom and to drink water from the shower. One day, I took Patrick on a visit to the hospital. "What did you do to Patrick?" Jenny asked. "What do you mean?" I asked. "He's fine." "Look at him," said Jenny. I looked. His arms were in the legs of his baby clothes. Jenny called my Aunt Anita. She also lived in Florida, but in a different town. "Please, can you look after John and Patrick?" she said. 2 days later, Aunt Anita arrived. She did the housework, and everything at home was fine again. When Jenny came home, she had to stay in bed all day. This was a very difficult time for her. She couldn't cook or go for a walk. Worst of all, she couldn't hold Patrick.